Theodore Robert Bundy, born Theodore Robert Cowell on November 24, 1946, became one of America's most infamous serial killers. Throughout the 1970s, Bundy was responsible for the kidnapping, rape, and murder of dozens of young women and girls. While he confessed to 30 murders before his execution, many believe the actual number of his victims was much higher. Bundy employed calculated and chilling methods to lure his victims. He often pretended to have a physical disability, such as a broken arm or leg, to gain sympathy, or posed as an authority figure to earn their trust. Once isolated, he would incapacitate his target, restrain her, and transport her to a secluded location where he would assault and murder her. Disturbingly, Bundy would revisit the remains of his victims, engaging in grotesque acts with their corpses and keeping the severed heads of at least 12 victims as trophies. His criminal activities eventually caught up with him in 1975 when he was arrested in Utah for aggravated kidnapping. As connections were made between Bundy and a growing number of unsolved homicides across the country, he staged 2 daring escapes while awaiting trial. After fleeing to Florida, he committed additional assaults, including 3 murders, before being apprehended again in 1978. Bundy was subsequently convicted of the Florida murders and received 3 death sentences during separate trials. On January 24, 1989, Bundy was executed in the electric chair at Florida State Prison. His execution ended the reign of a man biographer Ann Rule described as a sadistic sociopath. Bundy himself acknowledged his dark nature, declaring, "I'm the most cold-hearted son of a bitch you'll ever meet." Ted Bundy was born to Eleanor Louise Cowell at the Elizabeth Lund Home for Unwed Mothers in Burlington, Vermont. The identity of his biological father remains uncertain, with his birth certificate listing different names, including unknown. To avoid stigma, Bundy was raised by his maternal grandparents in Philadelphia, who posed as his parents, while his mother pretended to be his sister. Bundy discovered the truth about his parentage in 1969, which fueled resentment toward his mother. Bundy exhibited disturbing behaviors in his early years, including incidents of cruelty to animals and disturbing interactions with relatives. After moving to Tacoma, Washington, in 1950, he became increasingly distant from his adoptive father and engaged in various troubling activities, including prowling neighborhoods and searching for pornography. Bundy attended the University of Puget Sound for a year before transferring to the University of Washington, where he studied Chinese. He also had a significant relationship with Diane Edwards, which ended due to his immaturity. After a brief period of low-paying jobs, Bundy returned to Washington and began dating Elizabeth Klopfer, a relationship marked by manipulative and abusive behavior. Bundy re-enrolled at the University of Washington, excelling academically and even volunteering at a suicide crisis hotline, where he befriended author Ann Rule. After graduating in 1972, he joined a political campaign and earned strong recommendations that helped him gain admission to law schools, despite mediocre LSAT scores. However, he dropped out of law school in April 1974. Around the same time, young women began disappearing in the Pacific Northwest. The exact timeline of Bundy's first murders remains unclear, as he provided conflicting accounts. His first documented murders occurred in 1974, starting with the brutal attack on 18-year-old Karen Sparks. In the following months, several women vanished, with Bundy increasingly targeting college students. His brazen abduction of 2 women in July 1974 marked a significant escalation in his crimes. In late 1974, Bundy moved to Utah to attend law school, where he continued his killing spree, abducting and murdering women across multiple states. Despite a growing number of victims, investigators struggled to connect the crimes due to Bundy's careful methods and lack of witnesses. Bundy's killing spree came to an end on August 16, 1975, when he was arrested by Utah Highway Patrol. A search of his vehicle revealed suspicious items, including burglary tools. Although initially released, he was later placed under surveillance. Evidence from his apartment and his former girlfriend's testimonies led to his eventual arrest. In September 1975, Bundy sold his Volkswagen Beetle, which was later linked to the murders through forensic evidence. The investigation into Bundy's terrifying crimes revealed a pattern of manipulation and violence that shocked the nation. After being placed in a lineup on October 2, 1975, Carol DeRonch identified Ted Bundy as her attacker. Witnesses recognized him from a previous incident at Viewmont High School. Although there was no direct evidence linking him to another victim, Melissa Smith, Bundy was charged with DeRonch's aggravated kidnapping and attempted assault. He was released on bail, paid by his parents, and returned to Seattle under surveillance. In November 1975, investigators from Utah, Washington, and Colorado held the Aspen Summit to share evidence. Despite their suspicions about Bundy, they lacked definitive proof to charge him with the murders. In February 1976, Bundy stood trial for DeRonch's kidnapping. Due to negative publicity, he waived his right to a jury trial. After 4 days, he was found guilty and sentenced to 1 to 15 years in Utah State Prison. In October, he was caught hiding an escape kit in the prison yard, resulting in solitary confinement. Later that month, Colorado charged him with the murder of Karen Campbell, leading to his extradition in January 1977. On June 7, 1977, Bundy was transported for a court hearing in Aspen. Acting as his own attorney, he requested access to the courthouse law library, where he managed to escape by jumping from a second-story window. After hiding in a hunting cabin and wandering the forests, he stole a car, but was apprehended just 6 days later when officers noticed his erratic driving. Returned to jail, Bundy devised a second escape plan. Over several months, he acquired a detailed floor plan of the jail and a hacksaw blade. With minimal security during the holiday season, Bundy executed his plan on December 30th, escaping through the ceiling and walking out undetected. He stole another car and traveled across state lines, ultimately reaching Chicago. After escaping, Bundy traveled to Michigan before arriving in Tallahassee, Florida, on January 8, 1978. Initially planning to stay low, he quickly reverted to his criminal behavior. On January 15th, Bundy entered the Chi Omega sorority house, where he attacked 4 women, killing 2 and severely injuring the others. He later assaulted another woman nearby, leaving physical evidence linking him to the crimes. On February 12th, Bundy was arrested again after a police officer stopped his stolen vehicle near the Alabama state line. The car contained stolen IDs and items from his disguise. By May 1978, he faced charges related to the Chi Omega murders, leading to a highly publicized trial in June 1979. During the trial, Bundy chose to represent himself, which ultimately sabotaged his defense. Despite a plea bargain offer, he rejected it, unwilling to admit guilt. The prosecution presented strong evidence against him, including bite marks matching his dental impressions. After a short deliberation, the jury convicted Bundy, leading to a death sentence. In a separate trial for the murder of Kimberly Leach, Bundy was convicted again, solidifying his status as a notorious killer. During the penalty phase, he married his girlfriend, Carol Boone, in court. They had a daughter, Rose, while he was incarcerated. Following his trials, Bundy engaged in a series of interviews, revealing details about his crimes while often speaking in the third person. He described his compulsions and the satisfaction he derived from murder. In 1984, guards discovered hacksaw blades in his cell, indicating he was still plotting escape. In the final years leading to his execution, Bundy confessed to various murders across multiple states, withholding information to maintain control over the victims' final resting places. When his last appeal was denied, his execution date was set for January 24, 1989. On the day of his execution, he rejected a last meal and was executed by electrocution at 7:16 a.m. in Florida's Rayford prison. His last words were directed at his attorney and a Methodist minister, expressing love for his family and friends. Thank you for watching.